Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Wifeys IRL. I'm Alyssa.
And I'm Jaclyn, and we are so happy that you're here with us as we embark on this new creative endeavor together.
On our show, we're going to be talking about life in our 20s, friendships, mental health, relationships, life transitions, and everything that we're experiencing at this time in our lives.
All are welcome here, and our goal is to build a community that is rooted in kindness, diversity, and love.
You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, and Instagram, all at Wifeys IRL. We'll be releasing a new episode every week, so we hope you enjoy.
So today we're going to be talking about life in our 20s, specifically our post-grad life. We graduated from undergrad in 2017, and a lot has happened since then. So I'm sure we'll do episodes about college
Stories,
eventually.
yeah, and experiences.
Yeah.
We got a lot to say about that.
Oh, yes. But today we'll be focusing on post-grad life. So 2017 till now.
And beyond.
Yes. Your 20s, in my opinion, really are the bridge from childhood to adulthood. Entering your 20s can feel like you're in unknown territory. It's like this middle ground that I have never experienced before because I've only ever been the kid. It takes some getting used to going from being the youngest to now younger people look at you like you're the adult. And I'm like, no, we're both 10. Like, don't ask me. I don't know.
Let's keep playing patty cake until we're blue in the face because
I'm a child.
I don't want to do anything right now.
Yeah, and now there's this whole new generation after us, and low-key feels like being a middle child.
Like a bit. In society, heck yes.
Yeah, we're in that bridge, that transition phase from being the youngest to now being considered an adult.
Also, too, I think this is the time that society deems as, this is the time where you should be the most selfish, in air quotes, before marriage and kids, if that's even what you want or if that's even in the cards. And that we're supposed to be taking advantage of any and all opportunities that is in our immediate reach, or we should be hustling to get that until it's there. Big eye roll to that, but we'll get into that in a moment. This is also the time where these are the last developmental stages, like physically, that occur. That should be providing you a foundation of potentially what your personality will be like. That will stick with you for the rest of time, essentially.
Yeah. Doesn't your brain fully develop at 25?
Yes, that's like the biological clock to gauge. Yeah, I know people older than that.
I hope they're not done cooking.
Like, you still got at least, 40 more minutes in the oven.
Yeah, but, science, so they say. When it comes to the different phases of post-grad life, I would say almost every year in my 20s so far has felt like a completely different age group in my mind.
Yes.
You can group together your 20s, but when I look at my journey personally, every single year is a completely different time. I feel like I was a completely different person. I can't really bunch too much time together.
Definitely.
And the difference between who I was at each age since turning 20 has been so different. And I think that's a really good thing because there's been so much growth and development during those years and a lot of firsts, a lot of just various experiences, external, internal, and it's just been a very impactful time.
Definitely. I'd also say, too, we've had pretty parallel experiences, even though we did go through technically different things.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about this, we always learn the same lessons with different people or different
experiences.
Yeah, but pretty much right after right after one another or
at the same time, or even if it feels maybe 1 year after the other. For one quick example before we really get into it, we did grad school at different times, but we still learned the same things during those moments, even though you did it first and then I did it 2 years later, essentially.
Yeah, or I'll learn something, a life lesson, if you will, from a friend, and you learn it from a boyfriend. Yep. Something like that, where we end up in the same place, we just get there very differently.
Yes, which is honestly what kind of defines our friendship in a way. We're same but different.
Yeah.
In the most healthy, balanced way.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a really fun and therapeutic breakdown of the years after we graduated our undergrad. I hope us pinpointing what our mindsets and experiences were during these times can provide a sense of relatability and understanding that led us to where we proudly are today, and how all these moments, quote unquote, drove us to the edge this past year, where we've done the work to process and finally allow a mindfully stable future. Love it.
When I look back, I was incredibly unstable in every way.
Same. Those were lessons, not traumas. And I can say that now.
Being able to truly feel the difference from these past times, there's no doubt that so much growth has happened, because I'm like, who was that?
Yeah.
She was precious, but I'm not her anymore.
Yes.
In a good way.
Oh, for sure. Overall, it's just so important to get your mind right. Learning how to develop stability, even in the most unstable moments, can really allow growth and change to be welcomed and not feared. And so we're going to take you through those unstable moments that has made us stable today.
Yes. So we've broken it down into different phases that we're going to go through. So phase number 1 is the excited and eager phase. This phase was right after graduating undergrad. You're about to be free. No more school, no more homework unless you go back to school. But you're about to finally not have your life planned out for you.
Yeah.
You know,
you're out of the structure unless you get into a new structure.
Yeah, but the school structure you're about to be done with.
Mm-hmm.
So this phase for me came after senior year, and at the end of senior year, it was exciting, but also very daunting, because you can be very excited about the future, but it can also feel like an abyss. So I kind of went back and forth between being really excited and also like, it's kind of nice to just be told what to do forever, because then you don't have to like figure out things on your own. You're just like, oh, I go to school. And like, that's it.
It was a nice guide and a nice, almost like just a handhold across the street.
Mm-hmm. So the end of senior year was definitely a mix of excitement because an end was happening and there was a new beginning, sadness because college was so great. So it was like, oh no, I'm going to miss this. Anxiety for reasons we just explained. Pride because you're graduating college and that's a huge accomplishment and something you should be very proud of.
Yeah.
So just a lot of mix of emotions, but overall excitement and confidence, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a sense of confidence I definitely felt coming out of it, being like, okay, I am now ready for society.
But is society ready for me? After undergrad, at this point, some people immediately start the job search and they want to start working or have to start working. For others, this could be your chance to continue going to school, maybe study something for fun, go to school for something that you truly love, and just continuing your education by choice. So I would say at the end of senior year, by the end of senior year, I did know where I would be going, but it wasn't until I'd say the second half. So the first half was like, la la la, yeah, it's gonna, school's gonna end, but like we don't have to think about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't really have too much of a direction for after school. On a big scale, yes, but couldn't tell you exactly what yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say since my path felt at that time pretty direct, I was studying to get my degree in dance education. So essentially how to teach dance. I'll get into my bit in a moment, but yeah, so mine was pretty direct of what I was going to do. I just wasn't sure if I was going to stay in Arizona at the beginning of my senior year or go back home to LA. But I went back home to LA by force. Didn't really give Arizona a chance, but I wasn't too mad at it because I love LA. And in terms of geography, I did want to pursue the dance world and fitness world out in LA.
By the second half of senior year, I knew that I wanted to pursue fashion design. So I finally had my direct path, knew what I was going to do. So that next winter, I ended up going back to school for design, fashion design in particular, and it was truly the best time of my life. I had so much fun. It never felt like school because it was a passion and something I loved so much. I would have stayed in that program for my entire life if I could. It was just the greatest time. So I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity to do that and be in school because I want to and not because I have to be there.
Yep.
And every homework assignment was like, please give me more. Like, this is not work. This is like the happiest place on earth. I just loved it so much. So I had a really good experience going back to school. For some people, I think like maybe this was your experience because you went back to grad school like
Later.
a couple years after we graduated, but some people take time off from school. I kind of wanted to just like knock it out all at
Definitely.
once, and I was still in that mode of like being a student and
Yep.
you know, liking that. So I just wanted to continue it, and it was for something fun, and I'm like, no, I want to do this now because
Yep.
I'm excited and I love it. So I just went to school like back to back.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I was the opposite mindset. I thought I was never going back to school ever again.
Yeah.
It was just ingrained in me from the start that I had to go to college, especially just from my high school experience. It was like an Ivy League or bust mentality. It was a very, very competitive environment. So if you didn't go to college or any higher education past high school, it was pretty much frowned upon. So that was ingrained in me.
Yeah.
However, because I did choose a major that I was very, very passionate about and just absolutely loved, I had that same sense of like joy to want to go to school and want to experience my program.
Yeah.
So at least that happened.
Yeah.
And I came out of it finishing technically in 3.5 years and then tacked on an internship because I wanted to graduate with my friends.
Yeah, no, you were not going to leave your last semester of senior year. Like,
I know.
Absolutely not.
Which hilariously was the most rigorous time because that internship was no joke. I loved it. I really did. I had a blast doing it. But it was just so funny how the most intense part of my schooling was my last semester of senior year by choice.
And like not even at school.
And not even at school.
You're like working basically.
Yeah, I was a teacher's assistant to get my, again, it was all part of the dance education program. But yeah, so again, that trajectory coming out of it, I was like, I'm done with school. I am done with structured education, and I'm just gonna go into the workforce and fill my oats, or what is the saying?
I don't hold your oats.
Soak my oats.
Milk your oats.
Overnight oats. I don't know. Oat milk. I love oat milk. Anyway, I'm flying out of the school nest, and into the real world. Yeah, so that was my, I guess, where I was at mentally with school and real life / going into my career straight after graduating.
So yeah, this was a great phase for me. This was the first time I lived by myself in a different city that I had never lived in before. I'd been and visited family and Alyssa being here, but had never lived on my own somewhere new.
And Disneyland.
Oh, well, of course. Duh.
The selling point, other than seeing my face here.
Yes, of course. I'm like, school, Disneyland, and my bestie.
Like, oh, okay. Come on.
That's pretty perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love looking back on that time. And
me too.
Yeah, just, I don't know, it's so fun.
Yeah.
I finished that program at 24. So that's where I consider that phase finished, is that phase after I finished grad school for fashion design. So
yeah, cute. I like it. Mine was a bit different. My excited and eager phase, I can break down into two experiences that was on the forefront during this first year after graduating. And that was 1, my career, and 2, my personality and social capacity, if you will. When it comes to my career, this new chapter felt like the start of my real adulthood and my, stamp in society. Walking down the street, not a student.
I'm a woman.
I'm a working woman.
I'm a grown woman. Apparently. As I snuggle my teddy bear.
Like, allegedly. Yeah. And like I kind of mentioned before, I was always told growing up, stay in school, get a college education, start your career, save your money, and live life within your means. However, this wasn't exactly the case for me the first year, let alone the next 3 years that followed after I graduated. Yeah. And it was because I was still undecided and figuring out what I wanted to do with my dance and fitness education. and if even that was my focus past college anymore.
Mhm.
So this lack of clarity, a little bit of guilt, and overall lack of confidence in my skill set led to me having at least 2 to 3 part-time jobs at all time until I was 24.
Yeah. Do you mean guilt, like because you're changing your
My mind.
dream?
Yeah, my dream slash like I just spent 4 years studying one thing, which I feel like in general the themes of what I did study, I still use to this day on an everyday basis. It's like it did more for my life than it ever did for like my professional career.
Yeah.
So, but we can get into that. So don't get me wrong, I'll always, always, always will love dance and fitness and just movement as a whole. That passion and interest will never be absent from me no matter what I'm doing professionally. However, in terms of a career, I knew that the structure of a 9 to 5 just wasn't best suited for me. I figured that out very early on, literally when I was in elementary school. And just for context, here in America, school hours are set up like a 9 to 5, and I always struggled having motivation to do anything I wasn't 100% interested in. So layer in that 9 to 5 structure of when things needed to be done, I was just a mess mentally. And by this time where I was entering the workforce, where the expectation was to give all of me, even if I got nothing to give.
Like, I don't care about this.
Yeah, like not only that, I always had this intuition. I'm literally saying like when I was 5.
Yeah.
Like it was a gut feeling since then.
I believe it. Like little Alyssa. Wish I knew her.
I was an ambitious girl. I still am, but that sense of ambition, I don't know. No one taught it to me. I just had it like, I'm the star.
Yeah. Well, Alyssa's an Aries, so like duh, like get out of her way.
I'm not a bulldozer, but I will gladly knock you out if you are in my way. Like nothing is stopping me getting what I want. And I've always just had that fire, literally Aries, we're fire signs over here. I just always had that intuition, that fire, that gut feeling that like I was just always meant to do something on a very grand scale. And at this moment in time, doing these 2 to 3 part-time jobs, it didn't feel like that. And even though on paper I was developing my skill set and my resume, my professional resume, it still didn't sit right.
Yeah, it wasn't as fulfilling as you knew it should be.
Correct. Also, a major shift that was happening at the time was my official decision to retire as a dance performer and strictly stick to teaching and choreographing and basically just doing more behind the scenes administrative stuff, or behind the scenes theater things like stage managing, lighting design, sound mixing, all of that really fun stuff. I really do believe now I may not be done yet. However, that did start a bit of an identity crisis at this time, and it made me seek other avenues where performance can still be part of my life, even if I'm not the one doing it. And this venture, I'll say, was very successful, thank God. And it made me believe that I am capable of making everything I do professionally up to par as if I was still in my perfectionist performer days. I was just doing things that I didn't necessarily care to be doing long term.
Do you have any examples of that time or that experience?
Yeah, I'll say where it stemmed from, and which made me then confident in the work that I was doing. So I was introduced to one of my favorite professors at my school, and she was, I think, the head of our theater tech department. I don't know the proper name for it. Our production crew for when we would put on our dance shows, theater shows, and any school group that wanted to put something on, and we had the theater and the access to it. And I was always asked to stage manage, assistant stage manage. Like I really got into the technical and production team of live performance.
Because you have the vision,
so
you can make it happen.
Oh, honey, I have the vision like there's no tomorrow.
Everyone else go home.
Like I got this. And I will say, not to toot my own horn.
Toot it loud and proud.
Toot it and boot it, baby. I was one of the only people who got an A+, the highest grade you can get in this one class that no one has ever really achieved before, or not at least anyone in my 4 years before me, 4 years after me, for this specific project we did that had a lot of crazy lighting cues and lighting design work. And I was there after hours because I genuinely loved it so much.
Yeah.
And I was like, I will call it cue go.
Let me do it all.
Yes, that's still in me. I still love that. I still love being part of the reason why lights are on.
Yeah.
Music is playing. Dancers can see their mark on the stage.
I can feel your passion. I love it. I'm like, I don't know a thing about lighting, but now I want to. You've convinced me.
Yes. I can light you naked. I can light you in different shades of black. I like it, and that is important.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of detail and knowledge. It's not random.
Yeah.
All of that is not random.
Yeah, so I really got a full, I would say, bonus education in that because I did that so much. And so that really segued into me applying these skills for different performances that I was then involved in with my different jobs, whether that be technical or marketing or administrative. So even though those parts were not necessarily what I wanted to do long term, I still felt a lot of joy doing them. However, with all of that being discovered during this first year, when I was thinking about my career, it all led to this slow yet brewing feeling that teaching, specifically teaching, isn't going to be a sustainable job for me for the rest of my life. I like the leadership aspect and I like the creative management of it all. However, being around young people who did not want to be there because it was something their parents pushed them to do or it was something they decided to put on their college applications, it just really confirmed that that specific environment I was in teaching wasn't necessarily the right fit for me. Now, doing something just for an application, that's your prerogative. I'm not here to tell you what to do or what not to do, but I will say, at least stay open-minded to learn and improve a new skill in the activity you are immersing yourself in.
Just so you don't waste your own time.
Yeah.
Like, you're there, you might as well try and maybe you'll actually love it.
Yeah. And there were some cases every quarter or so that had the overlying theme of a student not wanting to be there in the first place. So naturally, them acting up or not putting their best foot forward. It just got old very quickly with me. At this time, I'll say my patience was nowhere to be found. And I really only wanted to work with people who were just as passionate and interested as me. But I didn't have access to those groups. So I knew this aspect would never not be part of the job in this particular school environment. So that's when I desperately started to seek a change. Again, not sure what that would be, but I knew this chapter would be temporary. So that's what gave me peace and kept me eager and excited.
Yeah, like excited for something else.
Yeah. And then socially and personally, I was still learning a ton about myself. When do you not? And really just trying to establish my moral compass and what values were most important that I could confidently bring to the table. This is when the light bulb turned on and I started to feel really confident in my personality, but not necessarily my self-concept, which are two completely different things.
Yeah.
I loved my personality, which is good because I got to live with myself forever, and what I brought to a friendship, old and new. So this excitement and eager phase was definitely more akin with my development as a person versus what was happening internally and then how that was reflected with the development of my life happenings externally in terms of a career. You know? And I'd say this whole phase also lasted with me until I was about 24, but I had this next phase we're going to talk about mixed in there.
All right. So phase 2, this is what we named reality, and I added / true taste of adulthood.
A little reality check!
Yes. For me, this phase started after I finished grad school. So this is when the job search began for me, and I was going to be starting a career, this new chapter, a new fresh round of newness. So I was again excited, but this was a pretty big jump. So it's like you don't really know what's coming because the last phase and this phase were very different. So at this time, again, I had that feeling of pride after graduating and was just really excited to start a career that I knew I would love.
Yeah, you found that focus.
It took some time, honestly, not that much time. I'd say like a few months, which really is not bad. And it was nice to have.
That's lucky in society standards.
Yeah, like at first it was like, well, why didn't I get that one? Why didn't this one happen? But like that really doesn't matter. And it was nice to have that bit of a break in between graduating and working. And I kind of felt like, whoo, yeah, get a break, but also I want to work now, but also let's enjoy this downtime. So once I did start applying and, you send out all your applications, you wait, you check your email, you check your phone, and of course...
You cry to your friends.
You're not going to get every job you apply for, of course.
Yeah.
And at sometimes I felt like knocked down a peg, or like, I just did all this work. I'm so eager. I'm so excited. So like, where is it?
Right.
I'm really annoyed with waiting, but whatever. It really was just kind of how it went. So that was one truth I learned, was that other people are applying for these jobs as well, which even though in the end that doesn't really matter because you're going to get the job that's for you, but in that time it feels discouraging, or being in an industry that everyone always says is super competitive, and like there's so many people who also want this. Like, okay, great, but you don't need to tell people that when they're trying to feel
like they're worthy of said job.
Yeah, and it just wasn't helpful to listen to those outside voices of like, okay, it's going to be really hard to do this. Like, well, I wasn't thinking it was going to be that hard till you said that.
Yeah.
So like having that external perspective about it, I guess, led me to sometimes feel like worried or knocked down a peg. Like, oh, maybe it will be hard.
No, definitely. I feel like in this case, the less you know, the better.
Ignorance is bliss.
Especially with this, because then you're not influenced to feel down on yourself like, oh, did I need to do more in this part? Oh, well, it's over. I don't have access to this course anymore. So now what?
Yeah.
It could start a spiral that's so unnecessary.
Yeah. Or like on LinkedIn, where it says, not just LinkedIn, but it'll say like how many other people have applied for the same thing. That is so unnecessary to tell someone.
Yeah.
That can really mess with your
Psyche.
confidence and your mindset. Why do you need to know that? Just be focused on you and know that you're qualified and that you're going to get the right job that you deserve, and let that be it. The second thing that I really learned, that really sunk in, was how everything is so expensive. And I mean everything.
Yep.
Especially in LA. Like, I always knew things were expensive, but it started to truly bother me to my core. Like gas and parking and just everything.
Yeah.
It really, I got mad. I got real angry. Like, it's just stupid.
Like, we really were lucky living in Arizona for college, and just how cheap everything there was compared to coming back and living in LA.
Yeah. Going back to Arizona and seeing gas that starts at like 2 something. It's about triple here, so maybe I should get my gas in Arizona.
Like, take a road trip every time.
Yes. It might be worth it. My mindset was starting to change when it came to money and how much certain things cost, because I was planning on having my job and my income, and the value of $1 had a new meaning for me.
Yes.
And I didn't want to spend my hard-earned money on stupid overpriced gas and just all of these things that was like, but that's my money. Like, no, the city needs to stop taking it.
Or like $17 smoothies.
Oh my gosh. Or like a drink out. Like, no, I'm not. No, this costs more than the bottle. I'm not paying for that.
Yeah.
And yeah, things like that just started to become very annoying, disturbed my spirit, if you will.
Same.
Like, it's just ridiculous. And I feel the same way now. I think I'm just used to it. I'm like, whatever, that's just what things cost. But it doesn't mean I like it or
tolerate it.
Yeah.
It's just because we have to, because we live
I'm like,
here.
I need gas in my car. So either I pay for this or I get towed. So I guess I've just come to accept some of that. But it was kind of shocking to really think about how much food is, and groceries, and eating out, and just how quickly
tax.
Yeah, like how quickly you can have no money in your bank account, or you can spend so much so quickly without even realizing it.
For just necessities. We're not even talking about like splurging or excess thing, like just to feed yourself and keep a roof over your head.
Yeah. So so with that, a lesson that I learned that I hope you will learn, people listening.
And if you have
wifey community.
And if you have, great.
Yes, maybe you already know this, but save your money. Save your money. At that age in your 20s, there's so many opportunities, so many things to spend money on. Events.
So many things you can figure out how to get for free.
That too. If you're, a little hack girl.
Yep.
You can definitely do that. But just in general, save your money. There's so many things that so many opportunities to spend money, and it's all very enticing, and there are events and restaurants and people want to do things and you want to do things, which is all great. You should be living your fun life the way that you want to, but don't be irresponsible, because
it's not worth it. It's not worth it at the end.
It's not worth it. It doesn't help you. It will add more stress, and sometimes it's presented to us like, you're young, spend all your money, live it up. Yeah, live it up. But just know where all of your money is going. Every penny that you have, you should know where it's going, and it should be to things that you truly believe are valuable and that you can afford at that time.
Yeah, live within your means.
Yes. And it's okay to say no to people and to events. And I think that's hard sometimes. You just miss some events, or you don't go to everything, either because you don't want to, or you truly can't afford it at that time, or you just don't want to spend your money on that. That's fine. Don't feel like there's pressure just because everyone else is going. I have to buy this super expensive ticket to a festival. If you don't actually want to go, keep your money. Keep your money in your bank account and save it or spend it on something else that is meaningful and worth it to you. But everything is expensive. So hold on to your money where you can. Don't waste it. Don't be irresponsible with it for your own sake.
And this will also implement practicing this, so that way you're set up for the future in terms of how you budget and finance yourself when you do have fun money to spend. Because even when you do have that fun money, you still have to pick and choose where that goes.
Oh, absolutely. Even if you're a millionaire, why would you waste your money? Doesn't mean, oh, well, now because I have it, I should be done with it.
Budgeting is always, it's always present.
It's always necessary.
No matter your financial status and stance or whatever the case is, budget.
For your own sake.
Yes.
Save yourself some stress.
Definitely. And invest in stocks.
Just be smart with your money.
I feel this one on a whole other level. I was still living with my parents at this time. And so when I was seeing my savings not being added how I'd like to see it.
Like, where's the money
going? Like, where did it go? Oh, right. Yeah, drinks every weekend, if not every other day, because the girl is stressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't good for my wallet either. Making these choices and, still doing and practicing these really great budgeting things now.
Yeah. So after feeling that initial frustration with the job hunt and everything, eventually I did get my first job that was fashion related, and that was very exciting. That was big moment. I was very proud. I was like, oh my gosh.
Me too.
Hooray.
I was like, yes. Join me in the workforce. It's awful.
You're going to hate it. Woo.
But you're going to make money.
Yeah. So that was a very exciting time. And even though you may have to wait, it may take longer than you want it to, just remember that you are always qualified. You're always worthy and deserving and good enough and capable enough to have whatever position you want. You can do it. Don't let the time lag or other people saying it's going to be so hard
or so long. It takes so much time.
Like, no, don't let that limit you or like settle for something else, because you will get it. Just know that you will get it and that you're worthy of it, and don't ever stop thinking that.
Even if you don't truly believe it in that moment, fake it till you make it, honey. Fake it till you make it, because eventually it won't be fake anymore.
Yeah, you'll truly have that confidence, like, oh, yeah, make me the CEO, because I'm just that qualified.
Like, I just, sent in my final thesis, but you know what? I can run this ship.
Yeah, I'm ready to take over.
Like, I am captain now.
Yes. At the same time, something that you might experience after getting your first job, joining a new company, you have a new boss, things like that. I've experienced imposter syndrome or doubts or feeling like, oh, I'm kind of at the bottom again. Like I was
Yep.
feeling so good being a grad and now you're like, lowest rank again. You're like,
You're freshman again.
yeah,
But like
exactly.
without the fun.
Like what?
Without the fun trajectory to be a
freeness.
senior again.
Yeah. So if you do experience that, I think that's totally normal. I had those moments too. And the shift from pride to feeling discouraged can happen really quickly if you're triggered by something or if your mindset starts to change and you start doubting that you're good enough for whatever job you have. And it's helpful to be conscious. I wish I knew this more back then, but now I'm more aware and able to be conscious of when that mental shift might be happening because either something's taking a long time or it feels like you aren't getting what you want, but you will get it. But just that time or that boss that said a comment to you or your coworkers or whatever it is, try not to let that make you feel like you're falling off the cliff back down to like feeling discouraged,
Get that.
Something that I think would have helped me at certain times.
I feel like I did get that message from my mom, but she had been out of the job search part of her life for 30 plus years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I just, any advice I was getting from anyone who wasn't going through this with me was just like irrelevant. Like, this is not helping me.
Yeah.
Like, you saying you're proud and I have this amazing skill set and all that, I'm like, but then why is it not happening?
Yeah. Yes.
And like, why is this interviewer being like, okay, well, this is on your resume, but this job posting says this, and I'm like, put me in it, honey. Like, I will prove to you, but like, I don't want to prove myself because I'm tired.
Yeah, I know. Like, you're qualified for things, and it says like 5+ years experience. Like, well, I'm 12, so what do you mean? Like, I haven't been able to work. But it is important to remind yourself of your accomplishments and to just know that you're always capable, and you must believe that you're capable and deserving of these jobs. Otherwise, you wouldn't be applying for them. So just stick to that.
Cool. Yeah, so as you were going through this, I'd say my dose of reality came around year 2 of, post-grad life. Even though that I was getting the roles that were fitting technically what I'm supposed to be doing because of my skill set, it just, again, wasn't what I wanted to do long term or in my even immediate future at this point. I knew I wanted to expand on fitness and dance potentially, create a business around that. Still don't know. But again, didn't get this sense of fulfillment that I was on the right path to the ultimate goal, which was very unclear at that time. Hence why I had so many part-time roles that felt like one full-time gig and feeling like this is not what I meant to be doing. Mm-hmm. Like, it just wasn't.
Yeah.
And so that was a hard reality check for me and a hard truth to come by where, dang, I'm stuck.
Like, where to go from here?
Yeah, where's my next, thing of inspiration that will maybe change my course, but we'll get there. However, I'll say the aspect that I really did love about all of this work that made me then expand onto the next path I would take was the schedule and the variety of tasks each role that was required out of me. So some days I would start teaching at 6 a.m. and other days I would start teaching at 6 p.m. I really did thrive with the randomness of my schedule because I had a set routine of just like my daily life. Mm-hmm. I had a morning and a night routine, and I was able to make that flexible based on my teaching schedule.
You were able to have work-life balance?
Yeah, I'd say so. Just the work itself was just not the most fulfilling.
Yeah.
So my reality at that time of being in this place of this isn't where I'm supposed to be, but I'm not qualified to do anything else in corporate America standards. Mm-hmm. And just the overall depression I went through from grieving that time in undergrad, that it was officially over and was kind of low-key trying to relive it. Can the party still go?
Yeah, anyone's still here.
Like, woo!
Party one at the clerk.
Literally. Again, I was also living with my parents after 4 years of independent living and then transitioning to living without my college friends in close proximity, and then them being all spread apart all over the country, and then not sure what to do to get out of teaching as a career due to enjoying the monetary income and understanding how easy it is to get stuck in being complacent. with where I was at job-wise. So that just really added to the mental mess and lack of stability I felt. Oy. So this reality check that I can pinpoint now was me, unfortunately, defining myself and my self-worth by my career. I can now say that I'm not Alyssa the dance teacher back then. I am Alyssa because I'm known for what I can bring to the table mentally and emotionally. That's what I want to be known for. I want to be known to be creative, loyal, and kind. Simple. Although everything that I will do professionally will add on with how I will be associated, it's not my sole identity, and I'll always stand by that. I also had one more kind of eager, excited phase once again. It was sprinkled throughout this reality check phase. And that's when I figured out, finally, my next move to expand my career by, I decided to go back to school.
I know. You said you wouldn't do it.
But I did it. And I would be getting my master's in London, of all places, almost a whole year before I actually did go. I decided this. So I had a whole year to daydream, to manifest what this experience would be like. And with my impatience at that time, it gave me a lot to think about from one spectrum to the other. I thought about how I would make friends, would I like the school, would I like where I was living exactly, would I get homesick?
Would you miss me?
Duh, we knew that answer.
I almost went to London. I was like, I'm not getting hired here. Maybe London is the place for me.
We looked at other programs that you could potentially do
I
out
was
there.
like, I'll just go to school more.
Yeah. And also too, I would be moving to a whole other country by myself without knowing a single soul out there. And I was questioning if that would be a good idea. But my excitement and my eagerness to not teach anymore and to change my career path completely, it overpowered any feeling I had or question of, is this a good idea during this time? So I was closing up shop with my teaching and fitness ventures, and pretty smoothly from the outside looking in, at least, I transitioned myself into grad school and living in London, like pretty smoothly, I'd say. Yeah, it was a pretty smooth transition. So before deciding to go to grad school, I knew I needed a change and wanted to go in a different direction, but I didn't know what direction that would be or what new creative route I wanted to take. But I knew I wasn't only meant to just teach or dominantly teach. During this current gap year I'm in of not working purposefully and not going to school purposefully, I figured out that what I do want to pursue is more production related, like what I experienced in undergrad. I love it and I miss it dearly, and I really feel like that's the most sustainable path that is meant for me, especially because of the variety of what you can do with that. And it really is just project by project, which is what I really just thrive in.
Yeah.
So this production as a career goal, I'll call it, was entertained back when I was in the thick of it in my undergrad. I just didn't grasp how much I wanted it until I stepped away from it to teach. And I was like, okay, yeah, production in any capacity is where I belong, like very firm on that. So it feels like I'm coming full circle by pursuing it now.
Yeah, sometimes trying something and realizing that's not what you want just helps you realize what you do want. So
exactly.
It's not a negative thing to try something and realize that it's not for you, because it just helps you realize what is for you.
Exactly. And even though I dipped my toes in it, now I can fully say, like, yes, this, I'm about to dive in now.
Yeah.
Full body, hair wet, the works. So how am I fulfilling this now? Right now, we're podcasting, we're vlogging, editing. I consider it to be small scale because it is just the two of us, but it really is fulfilling that creative endeavor that I feel like I could really pursue on the bigger scale, like being on a set for TV and film, and then live theater, Broadway. Give it to me. Give it all to me. So the goal is to eventually work on larger scale productions like TV and movie sets, where I can learn the ins and outs of production, which is a little bit different than what is my current background with it. See what roles I'd like to pursue within that space, and make my way back to live theater, because that is where my roots are in terms of, behind the scenes creative performance. So I'm excited to be on this new path and see how my goals really all unfold, and see how I can kind of interweave them, if you will. The options of how to get there really are limitless, and I'm excited for where this new path takes me with the skills I did acquire from performance, my undergrad career, teaching, and in my grad school endeavors. So we shall see where this goes.
So yes, this next phase we call panic mode. Yeah, I thought I'd had these kind of life crises at younger ages, at 21 and even 23 and stuff. Like, no, those were cute. This was like real life crisis. Those were more like situation crisis that I thought was a life crisis.
This was like anxiety, depression development.
Just a lot.
Okay.
And obviously, we were in the pandemic at this time. I know that amplified all of this. There was nothing but time to think. And so this was, I think, the first time I really looked at my life from like an outside perspective, or like a bird's eye view of birth till now. I mean life. Like, as if you could lay out whoosh, on a table like a timeline of everything. I just had time to just take a step back and reevaluate things, think about me and ways I've changed, things I've been through, just looking at every part of my life as like an outsider. Just giving myself time to see all parts of my life and not name anything as good or bad, but just looking and going, I did that. Okay, yeah, that thing happened. I was like this. Oh yeah, that thing was there. Just watching a little mental recap of my whole life, which is a lot.
That sounds very overwhelming. Granted, I eventually did this too, so I'll say it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I just did not experience that at the same time as you.
Life just felt different.
Life is different now forever and always. I saw this funny meme the other day, and it was like, are all these old people when they talk about the war to us, are we gonna be those people who talk about how with the pandemic to the future generations?
Probably. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
And I felt that.
Yeah.
I'm like maybe.
Like, most likely. Yeah. So this was just mental recap time for me. Woo! And during this panic mode, I just kind of felt like I was just floating in the world, trying to figure out my purpose. What am I doing? What have I been doing? What's even happening? Am I on Earth? Feeling like outside of myself. Like I'm looking at all this stuff as a viewer. I didn't feel like it was really my life.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I have no other way to say it, so that's why I'm just nodding. But no, I get it. I get it completely.
Yeah. So just felt kind of daunting at times. And that's okay. I think even without the pandemic, I probably would have felt
a version of this.
Yeah, to an extent around this time anyways. And this was all right after and a bit during the beginning of the first stages of really being considered a quote real adult. Mm-hmm. So I think regardless, this was bound to come.
Yeah.
So it's natural to feel overwhelmed at this time. And, I just gone through big life changes and taken big steps and was just feeling like I'm about to come into my own. And then the pandemic, and I'm like, no!
Like, well, never mind then.
I was just feeling like I was going to take off the ground, but no, you got to get flattened again.
Like stomped on.
Yeah. So that was panic mode of just chaotically trying to figure out everything in my life for the heck of it, because I had the time.
Fun.
So that's how I spent first part trying to figure out the meaning of life.
We all go through it.
Yeah.
It's bound to happen.
Yes.
You just went through it in a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Grad. Yeah, so again, parallel experiences, but we went through it and viewed it a little differently. Instead of focusing so much on me, I was focusing more so on society. Mm-hmm. So I can say, again, I can break this my panic mode during this time, once again into two parts. But one of them's getting their own episode, so listen for that next week. Yeah. And that is my love life that was in panic mode. Mm-hmm. Again, its own episode. Listen next week. And two, taking in what living in this COVID-filled society was like. I'm going to talk primarily about my mindset with society and how that had influenced these thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was in school again, I wasn't so career focused. So even though I experienced what you just kind of mentioned prior to that, I wasn't in it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just doing school. So to me, that was kind of the easy bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the time, and COVID again just really ignited these thoughts where I just had a giant realization that what I was told, having gone through, again, the American school system and living in America as a whole, is that if you vote, if you uphold being a good citizen and stay informed, this system, aka the government, won't fail you, or they shouldn't. And this was only the tip of the iceberg of the mass manipulation that really started to come to light during this time.
Yeah.
And I was seeing it because I was living it. And although, generally speaking, having gone through what I view as one of the most untrustworthy, embarrassing, and hopeless American political eras in my lifetime so far, I started to wake up, so to speak, and question and evolve my views on America, American culture, like what is even American culture, government, all the isms, and overall trying to keep up with the updated PC lingo. It really became overwhelming, but it was very welcomed with arms wide open. But there was just a lot of systematic unlearning to do, and that would take time, which I was impatient for because I just wanted to be the best ally and impactful person that I could be in a time of really uncertain chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point that in a lot of ways, I feel like I was forced into another level of adulthood during the pandemic because of the government and social issues and awful things that were happening. It was like the curtain was pulled and it was like, oh, this is actually where you live. This is actually the world. This is actually how things work. And I learned so much about things that I feel like I was just kind of naive to. There's a lot of horror and just really feeling hit by that. Having those truths really not be hidden or sugar-coated. It's in plain sight. We all have nothing to do but watch the news and like that time.
Or just experience it yourself walking down the street.
Exactly. So just that will force you to grow up in some senses.
Yeah, I felt this really weird shame yet pride in realizing that this system I was told to trust became the one thing that I trusted the least in this world. Yet it plays a huge factor in my overall well-being and future, especially because one, I'm a person with reproductive parts. I am a woman, my body, my choice. And two, being a Mexican American who, as I was growing up, I mentioned, who demographically attended dominantly white institutions. So I'm currently trying to figure out my relationship with America, the government, given not only my new global lens from living in two pretty economically well-off countries, but also having the exposure of third world country experiences. That was just enough to figure out that this world is just way more flawed than I thought. Like that bubble popped and burst and everything came flooding in of like, no, this is actually how it is. And again, I've always known this, just very surface level, but it didn't cut as deep as it does now.
A lot of things that happened during that time and that are still happening were a true wake-up call. And yeah, like you said, just that bubble being popped of the real hard truths of things in our world that we aren't separate from.
Yes. So I am now on this ongoing journey of how to work the system since the system isn't going to work with me. And that is in full effect for the rest of my life, truly. Due to this, at this time, I also started looking more and more into, work-life culture, salaries, trajectory, and progression in the workplace, and got even more overwhelmed that I really was not cut out for the traditional 9-to-5 career unless what I was doing in those hours were my absolute passion or it was another temporary phase that I would hold on to when my creative side projects would come to fruition. Like that was what I thought at that time and kind of where my head was going with still being in school and having to essentially start a new career again.
So after the chaos, phase 4 was exhaustion and acceptance. I had tuckered myself out from my ongoing mental breakdown. I was starting to internally calm down, I guess. It's like kids eventually stop crying. Even if they're still upset at some point, you just reach your crying capacity and the only option is to just be put down for a nap. So it was time for me to put myself down for a nap.
Yes.
I'm done crying. I can't anymore. And it was just time to let myself rest. I needed to be very kind to myself during this time. Not that I wasn't before, but just consciously and truly and deeply just make myself and my sanity, my stability, my happiness, my priority. What do I need? What's going to help me, make me happy, all of that, whatever it is, and I'm going to do it. And that's going to be my priority. That may sound selfish, but I really don't think that that's a selfish way to live, by taking care of yourself and
Absolutely not
putting your happiness and stability on the back burner, because if you do that, you really can't accomplish anything. So you have to take care of yourself in all ways and make that your priority.
And if that means being in bed for a week, that means being in bed for a week.
Yeah, just being, doing what you need and listening to yourself, not ignoring what you need at that time. After having that time to look at my life with that bird's eye view and just have time to fully reflect on everything, in the end, it did make me feel a lot closer to myself, and like I really, really know who I am. This acceptance of me and my life and my current circumstances at that time just led to true authenticity and honesty with myself. And yeah, I just began to feel more authentic, more aligned with who I am and who I want to be and what I want to do and what's important to me, who's important to me, all of that.
Love that.
Oh, yes. Part of the acceptance at this time was accepting change and the possibility of change, and just realizing that changes might need to be made. If you're going on the same path for your entire life, it can be scary to think about going in a new direction. You had mentioned how like you felt guilt at one point for wanting to maybe go in a new direction.
Yeah.
Or it can be scary to think about letting go of things or people or mindsets, thoughts that you've always associated with that no longer serve you, but they're comfortable, but they gotta go.
Yeah, gotta shed that dead weight, baby.
Yes. And sometimes I felt the opposite. Like some parts of me were even more solidified within myself after that time of reflection. Like, oh yeah, I love that part about me. Like we are locking that in. I'm going to hold on to that even tighter because I really saw certain parts of myself in different ways and just was like, yes, I really feel like me.
Here she is.
Yeah, like that's a true core part of me and we're going to amplify that.
I love that.
So yeah, this gave me the clarity to really understand what parts of me in my life are staying and what parts got to go.
Kick it to the curb.
Something I think I really learned how to do was question what parts of me are actually parts of me and what, quote, parts of me I've been holding on to for too long without even knowing it. And this was a very thoughtful time, as I think I've made clear, a lot of looking within, self-reflecting. This was really the focus of my life at this time, which I'm really grateful for, and just feeling like I was starting to get back to who I really am, or maybe I was meeting my true self for the first time and getting acquainted with me in that way. And this was really the start of beginning the journey of coming into me fully and just shedding the dead weight, letting go of things in my internal and letting go of things in my internal and external. Why can I not say external?
Are you me?
I think so.
Alyssa struggles with words when she's really in it.
Yes, I'm feeling the passion. Shedding the dead weight in my life and letting go of things internally and externally. I did it. That don't serve me anymore or that I don't align with, and just being unapologetic about that. I really was just too exhausted to be anything else but honest and authentic, because anything else just took up way too much energy and could just really suck the life out of you before your very eyes without you even realizing it. Just the acceptance of the honesty within myself and the excitement to implement that in the next phase.
Yes. I'm like, There it is.
Scene.
That's the point.
And scene.
No, definitely. Yeah, the exhaustion leading to acceptance, I must say, was one of the most relieving parts of this phase, in my opinion. Like in my journey, I will say I unfortunately have felt a sense of burnout in different aspects, primarily with school and boys, ever since graduating high school. And ever since then, I really, like, I think I did mention this before, I had trouble focusing and completing things that I didn't find interesting
Yeah.
that I had to do in order to get to the next thing that I did really want to do.
Yeah.
And that's why college for me, it wasn't always the most straightforward academically, but I did love the structure of it, and then therefore my part-time work structure. So I thrived nonetheless. How this affects me now is, like you say, shedding the dead weight, processing and reflecting, and accepting timing is just that, time. Don't be ashamed with how quick or how fast something is happening. If it feels like it's right in that given moment, that's great. Own the decision and live your life. And I say all this because this is what currently works for me. So that sense of burnout or the exhaustion, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't creep up prematurely since I already have such a short fuse, or I did at least, with what I found boring or that was petty or
Not
just
worth your time.
Waste of energy, complete waste. And it was also exhausting figuring this out about myself as well because of how many undesirable circumstances were going on as long as they did in different aspects of my life.
Yeah.
So it's okay being exhausted, figuring out what is exhausting you. It's all about getting your mind to be dominantly stable so that exhaustion is far and few between, if at all existent.
Yeah, like we mentioned, even being on different sides of the world, we still were like going through parallel things. Again, not exact same situations, but both on this, like, you know what? Enough is enough kind of journey.
Like, what are you cutting out? I'm cutting out this, that, and the third. You too.
Yes.
No, it was really fun kind of being reintroduced to you as this new person, even though at this time this person isn't even who I am today, which thank God.
Yeah.
But just being on that journey with you without even having to discuss it, I really did feel the growth from both of us at this time. It was just for different things.
Yeah.
Which was just so funny to me.
I know. Truly, we're telepathic, and I stand by that.
We are.
Like, I don't even say that to be funny. Like, there have just been too many instances. So I'm not even surprised that we were on the same wavelength with deeper things.
Yeah, no, definitely. And we still are.
So this next phase, we made it.
Question mark. Dot.
It's always progressing, but this phase was the cleanse and exist phase. So everything I mentioned before, this was now implementing my new discovery of me and things that I want in my life and all of that. So this was the action after the previous phase. This is the current phase that I'm in, and probably will have the most to say about it just because it's what I'm experiencing now. But this really has felt like the phase that is lasting the longest, which is great. And the more this phase has been going on, and when I look back on it, the more I'm able to identify the phases within this phase and how much development truly is taking place within me over time very quickly. I just truly feel like I know who I am, and I no longer have the energy to try and keep up with others' expectations that I have put on myself for various reasons throughout my life, just without even realizing it. I've always had a very true sense of self, but I had more tolerance for things that I knew didn't align with me, but I felt like I should give it a chance or something like that. And there's a time and place for that, but finally letting go of and being okay with letting go of who I thought I was or had to be in college, even more than I already had. But I think subconsciously there was still some things trickling and floating in my head, thoughts of who I'm supposed to be or have to be, or just things like that, that like, even though they were very minor, it was still like, go away, go away. And I think a lot of that is from society and the world we live in and all of that stuff. You really don't even realize sometimes the subconscious thoughts that you have. that are bringing a lot of discomfort, but they're very, very deeply rooted and subconsciously you don't even know that you're thinking that way.
Yeah, and I'll add this in too, like not knowing that it is probably most likely coming from your subconscious, because as humans, we are only looking in our reality what's right in front of us and what's at the forefront when we're awake. It's like, yeah, how can you know what's happening subconsciously? It doesn't feel real because you're not living it in that time or in that place. Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
I made it a true goal and conscious effort to be less influenced by outside noise and really being able to know what thoughts and feelings are mine and which ones are coming from something external. I have such a clear space in my mind now for what's mine, and I don't really even let anything that isn't mine in. I'm just really working on being very conscious of that and just prioritizing my mental peace.
Yes. We love stability.
Yeah, having that awareness all the time, really being in touch with me and strengthening my relationship with myself. That's been the theme since this phase began, and it's really been beautiful, I gotta say. So during this phase, just feeling more and more at peace with who I am. Whatever I find when I do my internal deep dives, I don't have to be afraid or not want to look at or accept anything about me because it's just me. I don't need to be afraid to accept any part of me or think about something about me or be ashamed of a feeling or a thought or something. Like, it's only me. It's not scary. It's not anything other than just who I am. So that was a big part of just full acceptance and love for everything about me. And that's always growing. The overall theme of this phase was also about cleansing myself with love and truly wiping the slate of my life clean of all the gunk, anything toxic, inauthentic things, people, mindsets, expectations that had built up or that were just sitting on my windshield of life, if you will, that I needed to clean. I'm like, that dead bug has been there for a year. Like, let me just clean it and be done.
It's like that stick you did have on your car for a year.
Not a year. This one time, I went on a hike and I parked under a tree, I guess, and this little leaf was like perfectly right in my like windshield wipers, and I don't know, I thought it was cute. I'm like, oh, little car friends, how nice, some nature on my car. There's no need to like take it off, like it's not stopping me from driving, so I just left it. But I guess you were bothered.
Every time I got in your car, I was like, this stick is still here. I'm like, it's rain, it's been windy.
I know. I went to the car wash, and that was my test of like, if it wants to leave, it'll leave. If it wants to stay on my car, it's up to the leaf. If it makes it through the car wash, it's meant to be here. And it did. I haven't touched it. I think it blew to like the side.
It's still in there?
I don't know.
Oh my God, I thought it did leave eventually.
I mean, maybe, but I think it's like on the little side area.
You know what?
I don't know.
Maybe some sticks and leaves can stay, but the emotional sticks and leaves gotta go. And that's what we're doing. That's what you're doing.
But yeah, with this new mindset of fully just making me my priority.
Unapologetically.
Absolutely. I think, well, I know the pandemic helped put things into perspective in all areas of my life and just really drove home what is important to me, what really deserves my attention, where I should be focusing my energy, and just not feeling bad about not giving myself to things that don't matter to me or that won't help me better myself or just that aren't good for me. You don't need to have patience for things that truly are a waste of your time. And being unapologetic about my decisions and feelings has been very empowering and very relaxing.
Yeah, and like all states of comparison and doubt are just starting to really wipe away.
Yeah, truly. I also started to feel more inspired in different ways. There's parts of me that are like treasures to be unlocked at certain points, and so many parts of me to pursue and get to know and discover. More inspired by me, honestly, to just by me. Just by me. I was my inspiration.
You know what? Sometimes that inspiration really just comes from within. You're being a whole new person that you've never met before. So meeting someone new can spark that inspiration. And when you're meeting your new you, you're like, oh, hello.
Hey.
How you doing?
Yeah.
What are you like?
Yeah.
What are you into?
Exactly.
Yeah. And yeah, no, I definitely felt this way with creativity. Like I said, again, we mentioned the guilt prior to being interested in more than one thing and wanting to try different avenues and, you know, questioning if I'd be good at that or not. I always limited myself during this time, especially before grad school, with only getting involved with creative endeavors that I knew I would excel in. Like I didn't want to, not that I didn't challenge myself. Of course, there were some challenges and new things to learn and discover and implement, but it took me a long time to finally have that courage, essentially, to delve into other creative mediums that I've never tried before, such as what we're doing now, podcasting. I have always used my voice, but I've never used my voice like this, and I find it so far a very fulfilling experience.
Yeah.
And that is just chef's kiss. I love it. And I'm implementing now that courage for creativity, to pursue creativity in anything that I want. So we're here to stay.
Yes. I also started meditating a little bit before the pandemic happened, but really got into it during that time. And I attribute a lot of this change to my meditation practice and the cleansing of my mind and just feeling centered and not like parts of me are flung out all over the place. That's been a beautiful foundation for all of this that I've been experiencing.
You're cleansing the clutter.
Absolutely.
You gotta always cleanse out the clutter.
The clutter's gotta go. But for real. It really does, because then you make space for new, better, shinier things in your mind.
I'll say for me in this phase in particular, this past year is when I really truly experienced it. So not so much right when you did it, like halfway through the lockdown part of pandemic. I had just moved back to LA, and I feel like that's really when I started to start this phase.
Yeah.
Full force.
So like last March.
Around last March or so. So after moving back to LA, after being in London for a year and a half, I straight up decided to take a gap year, if you will, because my mental and physical health was just on the decline like never before. I experienced a pretty low a couple of times, more so when I was a teenager, but this is the first time when I felt it in adulthood, and I was like, oh,
like, this isn't funny.
Yeah. Things need to change, and change quick. So yeah, this is where the great cleanse came for me. Year 4 of post-grad.
Yeah.
I moved countries. I moved back to LA from London. I got out of a relationship after attempting long distance. I started living with my parents again, once again transitioning out of living independently, and attempted to find work and start a new career without the mental stability to sustain much of it or anything at that point. It was sad. Not even sad, but just it was a lot in one time where I just was like, I need a nap, and I need a nap for a full year. It's now a new year, and after 2021, I'm in a place mentally that I know is my new foundation of self, where I've done the processing and cleansing from my past, like past similar to you, that I never dealt with until this point, and I can confidently say that that doesn't define who I am. It's for sure part of my story, and my goal is to one day creatively and artistically lay it all out, but for now, I'll relay this. I'm finally in a place, mentally and therefore emotionally, where I always envisioned myself to be but didn't know how or that it was even possible to get to. My limiting beliefs that truly just stem from childhood and society as a whole up to this point, it doesn't rub my dominant thinking, and that confidence I exude and the beliefs I have about myself in every aspect. It's going to be the foundation that drives this next chapter and the chapters beyond and the seasons within those chapters that I know will be filled with great personal success and fulfillment. And I'm honestly so excited. I'm so pumped. Wow! Let's go, baby!
Yeah. I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so yeah, you've pretty much explained the breakdown and the cleansing, and I'm just saying, like, this is what it feels like to be at the end of it.
We're at the start of the next great round of
amazingness.
Life, and had to go through all of this stuff that was really uncomfortable at times and all of that. But we have a new brain, a new head on our shoulders, because I guess we're one person. For
the moment.
And we're just ready to go. I feel like we're reborn in a way.
Yeah. And I'll say at this point in time too, I finally broken down the root of my impatience, and I can honestly say I no longer view time as a construct, but rather a creative structure of when things will unfold. Everything that has happened, when they happened, has all led up to this moment. And I wouldn't want it any other way. I would still consider myself an efficient person. I love efficiency, but it doesn't bring up the anxiety I used to have when things were not happening in a time frame that I wanted or felt like needed to happen, or else my world would implode.
Yeah, because I've had that mindset too, and I think that comes from doubt and insecurity, and like that is gonna go away or something if it doesn't happen in the next 5 seconds.
Like then it's over.
Yeah,
and in every avenue of my life too. So we're done with her.
Yeah.
That was a great cleanse that I really needed to process and work on, and now we're here and we have a whole new relationship with time, and I'm so grateful for that.
A takeaway for me is just having more patience with myself, having that same patience and grace for other people. That comes very naturally to me, and really having the same amount, if not more, for myself.
Good.
And also just trusting my gut feelings. I've learned how to create my own closure with friends, with job applications that you don't hear back from. I know how to end a chapter in a way that brings me peace and that I am happy with. I understand the lesson and the growth that has come for that, and then I know how to implement that in the future. Yeah, you can't always wait for other people to do that for you.
Oh, for sure. I'll say this too. I really also had to learn how to rest. I wasn't used to downtime, and the downtime that I had, my mind was so busy not taking advantage of that. And so in adjacent to, again, giving my time to people who I wanted to give it to because I love them, I would notice my cheeks and my jaw would really hurt after social engagements. So I would always need days in between each outing to like recover my face.
From the fun.
Oh my God. But again, that speaks to how I'm spending my time, because I'm laughing and I'm smiling throughout all of these interactions. And I really consider myself so lucky that this cheek and jaw pain is because I'm giving myself fulfilling moments in my life. And I'm honoring myself, as you mentioned, honoring myself with my time, with my people, with my decisions.
Yeah.
Heart, soul, gut, mind alignment.
Yeah. No, I agree with honoring when you need to rest. Having time for just me. I'm really loving that more and more. Some days I don't want to come face to face with another human, and so I don't. And I just need a day where I literally don't speak a word. I'm just existing. I just need a day with myself. What are you doing today? I'm existing. I'm busy. I'm booked. I can't be talked to today. It's my day of just existing.
Yes. And like, free time does not mean you're available.
Yeah. Oh, not at all. I'm busy existing alone for as long as I need.
Yes.
And not feeling bad about that, or like, oh, what a waste of a day. You didn't do anything. You didn't go anywhere. Like, I did a lot actually up here in my mind.
Yes.
Overall, to sum up this phase, it's just been about creating a life that allows me to sustain my happiness and peace. I can say that I've pretty much been able to get rid of my anxiety at this point based on all of this and my new mindset and things that I'm learning every day. Can't really put into words this journey, but it's so positive and just for the better, all of this growth that's happening, and being able to really take the reins on my thoughts. We can have a whole other episode about all of that, but I know we've both been working on that, and that has pretty much been the root for why my anxiety is like kind of nowhere to be found, which is insane for me to say.
Yeah, like even when someone or something knocks on that door of anxiety, she's locked, she's sealed.
There kind of isn't even a
door
door
anymore.
Almost. It's like, I don't know.
It's like the Monsters Inc. That door got shredded.
Yeah, honestly. I'm glad that we're both aligned and kind of at the same point of this state of post-grad life. I forgot that that's even what we were talking about.
Yeah, no, and that's the whole point, is when you're out of college and you're out of the bubble essentially, or maybe you didn't even go to college, but you're going through these similar phases with a career, with where you're living, with who you're with and spending your time. Anyone can go through these ups and downs, but at the end of the day, you got to get your mind right. And that's the whole point, is we were able to pinpoint our mindsets during these moments with grace and with love.
Yeah.
Because who we are now only exudes grace and love.
All right, so we have a few points,
to wrap this up.
to wrap all of this up. So what I've learned so far: you will not keep in touch with 99% of the people you went to school with. And thank goodness.
Oh my God.
Like, not social media friendships, like true in-person, real-life friendships.
I just did the biggest social media cleanse of my life.
Yeah.
Of my life.
A lot of social interactions in school are obligated, and
that's true.
No, it's true.
Oh my God, I
don't mean that as a joke.
No,
it's
no,
true.
I didn't even think. I mean, I know that, but hearing it, it's like, oh my God, yes.
Like, you have to see people. Like, you even when you go to class, that's not like a hangout, but you have to see all these people. And now, being out of college and not living next to all your friends, you have to make much more of an effort to see people and keep up relationships. And that has shown me who's meant to stay in my life and who I actually want to see that I'm not obligated to see.
Yeah, you'll find out who'll stick.
Yeah. Friendships have become way more intentional and personal, and what a blessing. Very grateful for that. Your people will stick with you throughout each chapter, and when your work is done with a friendship or a relationship of any kind, it's okay to remove yourself. It's okay to let relationships expire. You'll know when, the milk is starting to stink a little, and throw it out. It's okay to move on. It's so important to remove people from your mental space, your physical space, social media. If someone needs to go from your life, they need to go completely. Don't keep following people that bring you nothing or that you don't get along with or like or whatever it is. Remove them. You don't need to follow anyone.
I was always told, like, oh, don't burn your bridges because you never know, like, what could happen, or you never know what you're completely letting go of. And it's like, well, I've burnt some bridges up to this point, and I'm happy. Yeah. I'm a content little duck.
Yeah. No, if you are seeing someone's face on Instagram every day that reminds you of something triggering or something that makes you unhappy, then unfollow them. Stop looking at people or things that bring up bad memories for you or that just don't serve you anymore. Unfollow it. It's for your own. Don't think, oh, that's so mean. It's for you. Unfollow everyone.
Yeah, no, and same can go for like a boss or a coworker or a mentor. Things ended poorly, and if that, again, I don't like this, but I don't like this phrase, but if that bridge is burned, that is okay. You need to trust in yourself that you will create another opportunity for yourself that doesn't ever have to be associated with that person or those people.
Absolutely.
And as much as I was insecure about that from burning a couple of bridges from my past,
that like professional relationships,
that could have maybe led to something at this moment, I've let it go. I've let it go completely because I am creating my own avenue and my own path of opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I truly believe in that.
Yeah. All of that cleansing is just taking care of yourself. It's not selfish. It's part of your self-care routine. You aren't obligated to keep someone as a friend if you feel like you both just kind of tolerate each other. Just because, at one time you were friends doesn't mean you'll mesh forever. And maybe your values don't align anymore. You're going on your own self-growth journey, and they probably are too. And if it doesn't feel right anymore, then that's all good. The ones that you grow with consistently throughout your life in every stage, though, it's just extra special
Yeah.
because you've just been through it all. And I am very thankful to have some friendships like that where we haven't grown apart. We've grown individually, but every time we come together, it's like, oh, I didn't think I could love you more, but like, here we are.
Yes, definitely. Even if you're so different, again, I feel like you and I are so different.
We are.
In our interest, like, yes, we're creative people, but what we are interested in creatively is it's so opposite.
In so many ways, we are like nothing alike.
Like, it's
But
like,
then,
how are those two friends,
Yeah.
let alone like wifeys?
yeah, like we're very similar in a lot of ways, but like extremely polar opposites in a lot. And we have nothing but respect for that.
I love to see it. I'm like, hot yoga, yes. When you see me rave, yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you do you, honey. I'm supporting from the sidelines in this
Yeah.
case, but it's like having those independent thoughts and interests, honestly, only make me feel smarter.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, because I'm like, oh, I know about a little something about hot yoga.
I have this friend Jackie. She told me.
Namaste.
Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, I know what candy is at a rave from you.
And production and light
Of
shows
course,
and like
of
all of
course.
this other stuff. But like, yeah, no, it makes me appreciate your interests that I would never step foot in to begin
Yeah.
with. And it's like, oh my God, cool.
Yeah.
And I think also too, I feel like, yes, we are different in terms of interests, but our moral compasses are just about the same.
Mhm.
So that is what the foundation is in terms of like where that respect comes from for those differences.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Preach.
Find your person.
Find your wife.
We did. Hence this. Yeah, so the next set of lessons that we've come up with, it's okay to explore new paths or start fresh at any time until what you find feels right for you happens. You're always going to change as a person. You can change every 5 minutes. You can change every 5 years. It's not unlikely that your preferences and lifestyles will change with you as you start to discover these new things and let go of these things. You'll know better than anyone else what's right for you, and it's your life, so you get to make that happen.
Yeah, be patient when you're figuring this out and listen to what dream you feel called to pursue. What part of you are you meant to pursue and explore at that given time? If you're in a situation that seems difficult, if this doesn't sound realistic or like, yeah, that'd be nice, but I can't do that right now. If you are unhappy, there is always an escape route. Don't waste that time when you aren't happy by being upset forever. Think about the plan, how you're going to get out of that, and literally what your escape route is, and know that that's on the horizon. You're not going to be stuck in that unhappy place forever.
When you're in this time where your goals are not your reality yet, you're not living it quite yet, figuring out these coping skills that aid with the patience and focus it takes to get out of those situations. I've been there. I've done that. There was a time where I was working towards getting out of something. It felt like that time was never going to end and that I was stuck and just wasting my youth away. Truly. I was like, oh my God.
I'm going to be 80.
Like my cheeks are sagging. Oh my God. It just, didn't feel good.
Yeah.
But you might surprise yourself with how quickly you can get out of that situation when it's the goal. I know what I want. I'm going to get it. I believe that it's going to happen. Okay, drop it and live your life without dwelling that it won't happen, because it will. Figuring out the coping skills that work for you to accept how much time something might take, it's very important so you can survive the day-to-day until those goals come to fruition. Learning these coping skills may not even mean going to therapy like I did, especially since it may not be the most accessible. However, finding a community you identify with may help pass the time and can be just as beneficial.
It's all about the mind.
Yes, because mind makes you feel, feelings make you react, reactions are how you communicate and then therefore make decisions. So you got to start somewhere. I suggest the mind.
Yeah, that's all part of investing in
yourself.
Whatever your situation is, do whatever you can to invest in your dream life now, in the present, not just money, but if you're on a health journey, a spiritual journey, you can always start getting yourself in that direction now.
Yes, that can't be stressed enough.
Like we mentioned before, that gut feeling. Don't ignore her or him or them. It's there for a reason. Your gut can really guide you to what lessons you're meant to learn at that time. That will only help you in the future, and you can look back and realize that you needed to learn something or experience something first in order to prep you for something that is coming later in your life. Even if something seems like a block when you have this goal, if you still believe in your goal, then it is just a part of your path to get to that goal. It's not stopping you. It doesn't mean your goal isn't going to happen. It's not a limitation. It's just for whatever that lesson is going to be. It's just a part of your journey to get there that I will bet will make you stronger, even if you don't see it at that time.
No, for sure. Also, don't take things personally. Honestly, sounds easier said than done, but once you get that mind right, you're not going to start taking things personally anymore. Whatever you want, you can get without comparing yourself to others. Everyone is on their own path, and the more you're able to stick with developing your self-concept, so trusting that you're worthy and deserving of all your goals and dreams and aspirations, the more you will find yourself getting exactly what you want and how you want it. Not just a variation or a version of it, but exactly how you want it.
Yeah.
I recommend researching mindset coaching. Other than therapy, this is what clicked for me of how to change and exactly what to change when it came to my own self-concept.
And lastly, it's okay to not have your entire life planned out or to feel a lack of direction at any time in your life. Even if you're 75, if you still feel like, you know what, I don't know where I'm going from here on out, great. You don't just get to have these times for change in your 20s. This is for your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So always be kind to yourself and know that things don't always have to feel like it's the end of the world. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, your feelings are always valid. You should always listen to them because they are coming from somewhere, so don't disregard them. Feelings are there to tell you something. It is truly the little message, the messenger of what's going on inside of you, telling you what you need next. And even if at that time it can't be articulated, the more open-minded you are to explore those feelings, the closer you are to articulating them, and therefore being closer to working on a solution to whatever issue is present. So persist. You got this.
And that's our post-grad life up until this day.
No, literally, it's a lot, but I feel like it was so necessary to unpack, and I feel like we will be unpacking so much in every episode that we come out with.
That's our recap. That's us in a nutshell in our
20s.
Post-grad life thus far.
Yeah. And I am right now 26.
Yeah, you are. I'm 27.
And it's a really fun age, fun place to be in. And even though every year may still feel like something new is going to happen, new sense of growth, new sense of change, I welcome it because I've never felt as stable as I have until this very moment.
Right now. Stability up the wazoo.
Check. Checkmate. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. I really want to hear everyone's snippets of their journey or where you're at or, you know, maybe more of what we can delve into. I know we covered a lot, but I think this is a really important message and important topic to discuss.
Reflecting on your life and who you are, all of that, it can be a lot, but it's very beneficial, and it really helped to see and really pinpoint growth that I've had in different areas. And anytime I doubt anything, I'm like, no, I can tell you, I can write you a novel about all the ways that I've grown and developed in my life, and that's just a really rewarding feeling.
Now time to nap.
Yeah, now time to stop talking. My throat's gonna start hurting.
Anyway, thanks for listening. This is Wifeys IRL. Catch you on the next one.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
This has felt like the phase. Excuse me.
You're really exuding my energy.
Burps and
not saying your words correctly.
Mispronouncing. Words crashing together in my brain and coming out as that.
Me every day.
Wow, okay.